Okay, you're all set to go, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Derek. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the April 13th, 2020 meeting of the Goffstown Select Board. This meeting is being conducted remote via WebEx, and public access will be available via telephone. There'll be more information and specifics relative to that very shortly. Before
Okay,
we get
you're all set
started,
to
if
go,
each of
Mr.
the
Chairman.
members of the Select Board could identify yourself and confirm that you're the only person.
Good evening,
in the room.
ladies and gentlemen, and
Appreciate
welcome
that.
to the April
Paul
13th,
Adams, I'm serving as
2020
chair
meeting
I
of
am
the
the only
Goffstown
person in the
Select
room.
Board.
This meeting is being conducted remote via
Kelly
WebEx,
Boyer, I am
and
the only
public
person in
access
the
will be
room.
available via telephone. Peter?
Peter Georgantis, I am the only person in the room.
Mark?
Mark Lemay, only person in the room.
And finally, Chet.
Chet Bowen, only person in the room.
Thank you. Can we just start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Of the United States of America
To the
and to the republic for which it stands,
One
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So now I'd like to share some of the details of how the meeting will be conducted tonight. As chair of the Goffstown Select COVID-19 outbreak and in accordance with 2004, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are doing several things. Number A, we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. The town is utilizing the WebEx platform for this electronic meeting. The public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following telephone number: 603-766-5646 and using the participation code number 785645 followed by the pound sign. Again, that phone number is 603-766-5646 and the code you need to enter is 785645 followed by the pound sign. Providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. The town previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using the available telephone number with the posted agenda. Providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem with telephone access, please call 603-384-3624 and someone will assist you with your access issues. Again, the number is 603-384-3624. Adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at a later time. Please note that during this meeting, all votes that are taken shall be done by roll call. We've already taken a roll call attendance. So I think we're ready to get into the actual agenda. Derek, have you anything else, Derek, that I may have overlooked?
No, I would just want to remind anybody that's watching on the stream, whether on GTV or GTV Facebook, that the stream does run 10 to 15 seconds behind real time. So if you want to participate in real time, listen, you can call the number. The number again is 766-5646 and use the participant code 785645.
Thank you, Derek. Go to public comment. I want to deal with acceptance and correction of minutes. We have a number of sets of minutes that we need to approve. Derek, I don't have the list in front of me. Can you start by going down through those?
The two sets of minutes that I emailed to all the board members this afternoon were the minutes from the March 25th public meeting and the March 30th public meeting. Both of these are posted on the town website. So those are the two that I'd be looking for approval tonight.
Okay, so first we've got the March 25th. Folks have had a chance to review the minutes for the March 25th meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
Collis, this is Mark. I'll make a motion for the March 25th minutes, please.
Okay, we have a motion from Mark. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
That was Peter. Motion by Mark, a second by Peter to approve the minutes as presented. How are we going to do this? Oh, we got to do roll call. That's right. I'll say we have to do a roll call. Collis Adams, yes. Kelly?
Kelly Boyer, yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes,
And Chet?
Yes.
Motion, the minutes are approved as presented. Thank you. Now, motion for the March 30th minutes, please.
I'll make the motion to approve the March 3rd minutes as presented.
Thank you, Peter. Motion by Peter and a second by,
I will second that motion unless Chet got it.
yep, that's Mark. Okay, so a motion by Peter and a second by Mark. Is that right? Okay, and the motion is to accept the minutes as presented. So that's a roll call. Collis Adams is yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Peter, vote on the minutes.
Yes.
Okay, Mark
Yes, sir.
and Chet.
Yes.
Okay, so it's unanimous. The minutes are approved as presented. What time do we have here?
6:08.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Do we want to go to public comment right now, Derek?
Yes, I've moved that to the beginning of these meetings, these remote meetings. So yes, you could go to public comment at this time.
Okay, just so it'll flow a little more nicely. I like that. Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to provide public comment? Now would be the time.
I'm seeing no one on the telephone line at this time.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Next is announcements. I have a couple of announcements that I'd like to share with folks. The first is a traffic alert. The Goffstown Department of Public Works announces traffic signal work at the Pinard Mass Road intersection on Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. There will be temporary signal interruptions at times and contractor vehicles in the roadway. An officer will be on site directing traffic during these times. Please use extra caution and expect delays. Please contact the Goffstown Department of Public Works at 497-3617 with any questions, and we thank you for your participation or your patience during the construction process. I have a second announcement. As many of you may know, we had quite a wonderful weekend this past weekend. We had a couple of really nice events, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. On Saturday, we had the Easter Bunny traveling through town. And on Sunday, we had Recycled Percussion touring through town. I think these are both wonderful events. It was great to see a community come together and try and support each other with something that takes our minds off of the issues at hand with the coronavirus. And I know I attended both, and it was great to see people out on the streets smiling while at the same time maintaining, to the greatest extent possible, social distancing. From my observations of both of those events, it went very well, and I've seen positive feedback from folks both in emails and through Facebook posts. So I want to say thank you to the fire department and the police department for their extra efforts over the weekend. As I mentioned on Saturday, the Easter Bunny traveled around town. Fire department and police department spent 8 hours driving throughout the community and were able to see the majority of the community. It was great to see so many people outside enjoying the event and keeping social distancing in mind. Our first responders would like to thank everyone for their positive feedback. And then on Sunday, the local group Recycled Percussion traveled throughout town. The police department responded to this unplanned event in a similar manner to National Night Out or other community events. Recycled Percussion traveled around the town for over 7 hours, and the police department did a great job responding and monitoring to ensure public was safe throughout the afternoon. I want to thank both of those departments and all the folks who helped to pull those off and make them great events, again, to take folks' minds off of the COVID-19 issue and get out. And thankfully, we had some good weather, so folks could get out, get some sunshine, enjoy some good entertainment. And I think it just speaks volumes about the wonderful community we live in that we're able to pull off these two events. So just wanted to make note of those. Does anyone else have any announcements they'd like to share with the group and the folks watching? Any? Nothing?
Carl,
Yeah.
just one thing. Is there a way we could maybe send a letter of appreciation to Recycled Percussion and to the fire department?
We certainly can. I think that's a great idea, Peter.
I will draft that up and send those both out.
All right,
Thank you. Thank you, Derek. Okay, moving on now. I'm at tab number 5 in your packets. This is the police chief. Good evening, chief.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Mr. Chair. Can everybody hear me?
We can. I can.
Perfect. So we're going to talk real quick about the highway safety committee meeting that we had this past quarter. So the first one I'm going to present it's a carryover from December 11th, 2019. It's regarding the Mass Road and Pershing Street intersection over by Hannaford supermarket there. Some of the neighbors on Pershing Street are having some issues when they're to get into Pershing Street or come out of Pershing Street. Some of the issues that are coming up are that center lane that's in the middle of Mass Road. It's a turn lane. You can either turn either direction, but unfortunately what's happening according to the residents is that when people are turning left into Hannaford, they're actually going into that middle turn only lane, which is causing the vehicles to block Pershing Street from being able to exit out into Mass Road and go northbound towards like McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts. So they came to the Highway Safety Committee asking basically if they can change the line markings on the pavement there. We've kind of deferred this to Director of DPW, Adam Jacobs, who went back through and looked at the road markings, and the engineer went through and designed some different configurations, and I'm pretty sure you all have them in your packet. I think, Adam, if you could help me with this, I think the one that we voted on was the second page, which occurred, according to my packet here, it doesn't say 2 of 4. The first one says 1 of 4, and then there's another case, and there's a 3 of 4 and a 4 of 4. The one that they were looking at and we approved was we're recommending is the 2 of 4, which has a painted stop bar just prior to, just after Pershing Street, and it also has a middle merging lane. So when people come out of Pershing Street, they go into that middle lane. It's set up for 2 vehicles, and they can merge into Mass Road. We're hoping that these small markings on the road basically will stop and deter people from backing up into that lane when they're turning left into Hannaford, which will then help the people from Pershing Street to be able to enter into the road or exit out of the road.
Okay, so we're looking at the fold-out sheet 1 of 4, which is the existing conditions.
Yes.
And then the next page, which doesn't have a sheet number, but we'll call it sheet 2 of 4, which is the proposed changes to the striping.
Correct.
Correct, Chief? Okay.
That's right. If you want me to jump in a bit, we also identified a second intersection. So we've got Hannaford and Pershing Street was the original request. But also we have a very similar situation with a 2-way left turn or suicide lane at the old Shaw's Plaza, Fun City Trampoline Park, and the Goffstown Square Moose Club Park intersection. So we asked Sarah, town engineer, to take a look at both of those and come up with a proposed restriping plan. So the third and the fourth sheet are the existing conditions, and then the proposed solution for that intersection as well.
Got it. So Chief, can you tell us a little bit, it's before us, but can you explain the committee recommendations for us?
So essentially, we looked at it. Adam and his team brought up the different stripings. They're all within the federal guidelines, and we recommended, based on that, to go ahead and stripe those lines. Obviously, we're going to wait until a little bit when the season's in place, but we've recommended that we're going to go ahead and readjust the marking schemes. So we're putting that to the board on both intersections, correct, Adam?
That's correct. I think it makes sense. If it makes sense for one, it makes sense for the other. One of our primary goals was to get rid of, if you're heading eastbound on Mass Road, as you come to Pershing Street, you've got that two-way left turn lane, which ceases to really make sense right at Pershing Street. There's no real point in being a left turn lane there, since in theory you're crossing over a double yellow line at the end to get into the actual left turn lane into the plaza. So people pulling out of Pershing were finding backups were occurring, but also as they pulled out, if somebody was nice enough to let them out on Mast Road to make a left turn onto Mast, as they pulled out, occasionally they'd get past the first car who let them out, and somebody would be flying down the suicide center lane there. They wouldn't see them. You wouldn't expect it to be there. So it's a lot safer. And then with this little, in the proposed version, with this little, mini acceleration lane almost, you're protected when you pull out, so you're not required to cross two lanes of moving traffic too.
Yeah, so both of these proposed changes comply with the MUTCD, right, which is, I believe, the Manual and Uniform Traffic Control Devices or something.
You got
similar.
it. You got it.
Okay. Okay, questions from the board on either of these plans? For either the chief or Adam?
Collis,
Yes, Mark?
we had discussion during the meeting that if and when the striping is done, please let's not forget to remove the lines that are currently there. Let us not just cover them with a sealant. Let's try to mark them so that they're completely gone, so we don't have any confusion further on down the road.
Yeah, I do see a note on the plans to that effect, so I assume that's the intent.
Yep.
Adam?
Yes, we'd fully obliterate those lines, not just black them out, as the Selectman Lemay mentioned. And then the other pieces, we would also be adding new traffic pattern ahead signs temporarily, just ahead of there, even though folks might not even remember it once they're gone. That we don't want anybody who might have gotten that mode of getting in the center lane to do it again.
So some temporary signs alerting to folks that there's a change in traffic patterns, like sometimes we'll see.
That's correct.
And to remove those, what do you burn those off? Is that how you?
There's a couple different methods. I think they're largely gone, but at this point, we'd probably have to take a little bit of a milling machine to it. Continental's got a temporary trimmer we could borrow, or we could try our own, but we don't want to be too rough with them.
Yeah. Other questions?
Sorry, if I could just throw out maybe the one downside of this would, in theory, be we're reducing the stacking ability. So right now, even though folks are doing it and crossing over a double yellow line at the end as they approach the intersection, right now there is some stacking that goes on in that center lane when it's really busy to pull into the plaza. In theory, we're going to have a little bit of an impact there, but I think just based on the amount of left turn traffic, they'd be stopped at some point anyway. So just might be one of those things we'll keep an eye on. If we get any real complaints, we might have to reevaluate for the next year striping.
Yeah, to me, I see that as kind of a minor issue when you compare to, keeping traffic flowing and moving through the intersection efficiently, but yeah, duly noted. Other board members have?
I have a question, Carlos.
Peter?
This is for the police chief. Has this been a accident issue?
We haven't seen any major accidents specifically to Pershing and Mass Road, and even minimal at the intersection of Hannaford and Mass Road. If anything, they're minor, but I haven't, to my knowledge, and to the data that we looked at, there hasn't been anything substantial for Pershing Street and Mass Road.
So we're doing this to help with the traffic getting out of Pershing. Is the main reason we're doing this. Is that correct?
Pershing entering and exiting and easing that middle lane a little bit. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? Derek, I think we need a motion, do we not?
Yes, I'd appreciate a motion and a vote on the restriping plan as proposed.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Peter. And a
Move the
second from,
restriping.
thank you, Peter. And a second from,
I'll second it.
that was Chet. Motion is made by Peter, second by Chet to adopt the recommendations of the committee as presented. I need a roll call. Adams, yes. Peter?
Yes.
Kelly? Kelly, your vote on the motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Mark
Yes, sir.
and Chet?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously. Okay, we have another one, Chief, correct?
Yes. So the next one we went through was a resident from Meadowlark Lane, which is off of Tibbetts Hill Road. Her concern and a couple of her neighbors' concern, if you're not familiar, Meadowlark is off of Tibbetts, which then has two other roads off of it. It's primarily residential area. Her concern is with speeders coming through the neighborhood, largely the people who live there that are speeding home or speeding to work. She's pretty close to the beginning of Meadowlark by Tibbetts, and she was asking for us to basically make the speed limit to 25 miles an hour. And currently there is no posted speed limit on that road. So the committee listened to her. We kind of gave her some advice, but we've decided that it seems like in the last couple of meetings, people have been coming to us with a specific neighborhoods, asking for the board to, vote on each neighborhood to be 25 miles an hour. We have the spice racks up on off of Terrell Hill that are all 25. So we as the committee had recommended that maybe we postpone this one right now, and during the summer when DPW has some interns, they can actually take an inventory for the board town-wide and see what neighborhoods in these areas are kind of in town are similar to that, and maybe we can just present one kind of either ordinance or recommendation that these smaller neighborhoods are all 25 miles an hour, so we don't need to have neighborhoods coming in and asking us to bring them down to 25 miles an hour. So that's our recommendation to the board, is to postpone this. We've talked to the resident or the person who came in, and she's good with that. She's looking to see if that makes a difference for everybody in the community. That's good. So our recommendation is to postpone this and basically just see if DPW can have their intern town this summer, and then we can come back probably in the third quarter or maybe fourth quarter and present it to the board.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. We do see these every once in a while where people want to slow down traffic by putting up speed limits. We need to come up with a comprehensive way to deal with this. I think this is a good first step to inventory where we have these 25-mile-an-hour zones in town, and then come back later with some specific recommendations. So I'm going to table this issue until we can complete that survey. And Chief, if you'll let me know when that happens. We'll get this back on another agenda when we have the specifics and we have a more robust conversation about it.
Perfect. I do have one more thing to add to this request, if I can, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
So in her asking us for the reduction in speed, she also told us that there is no stop sign at that intersection. And I guess we went back through the data to show when they developed this property, it just never got put in. So she had asked, as a secondary ask, if she could have a stop sign put in. I guess we haven't really taken an inventory. We didn't really vote whether we should or shouldn't. I guess I'll leave it to the board if the board wants to schedule a public hearing in the future to have a stop sign at the intersection of Meadowlark and Tibbetts Hill Road. It seems like other roads in that neighborhood do have stop signs. I'm not sure how this one got kind of left out of the mix, but that's without recommending it from the highway safety. We were kind of putting it to the board to see what everybody thought.
So I think the first step is to go back and look at the plan that was approved by the planning board when this area was developed. And if it showed a stop sign, then this is a pretty simple matter. We just go in and put a stop sign in there, in my opinion.
I believe
I
believe Adam-
believe they already did that and there was no stop sign there. So I'd like to make a motion that we schedule a public hearing for a stop sign there.
I'm sorry, Peter, did you say we already looked at the development plan and it did show a stop sign?
No, it does not show a stop sign.
It does not, okay.
So I make a motion that we start the process to put a stop sign there.
All right, so
And
first,
Collis,
yeah,
I'll
Mark?
second Peter's motion.
Okay, so the motion, I think, is to start the public hearing process relative to a stop sign in that location. Okay, and that motion was made by Peter and seconded by Mark. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, any discussion by board members? And I'll take a roll call. I vote, Collis Adams votes yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
and Chet.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes 5-0. Thank you, everyone. Next. Town Administrator's Report, Derek. It's on tab 6 of your packets.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first page, you have
By the way, Derek, I'll sign those. I'll come into Town Hall and sign those once they're ready. Just let me
Right.
know.
All right.
Yep.
At tab 6, the first item you have is your committee meeting schedule. As you can see, as we've starting to work through these remote meetings, we've got committee meetings starting to occur a little bit more frequently. On Wednesday of this week, the library trustees will be meeting at 6:30. That's a remote meeting, and we will send details. That's normally Vice Chairman Boyer.
I'll be there.
Thank you, Kelly.
On Wednesday at 7 PM, the Parks and Rec Commission, and that's usually the chair.
Yeah, I will be there.
Okay, again, we'll send you the remote details on those meetings. And then next week, on Tuesday, April 21st at 7 PM, the Budget Committee will be meeting.
Yes, sir.
On Wednesday at 7 PM, the Conservation Commission will be meeting.
Yeah, I have that.
And on Thursday, the 23rd at 7 PM, the Planning Board will be meeting.
I'll be there.
Thank you, Peter.
On your next page, you have this week's consent agenda. You have an employee status report for a promotion. This is for truck driver to scale house operator. You have a copy of the 2020 MS 232. That is the state report for appropriations voted at town meeting. You have a Lynchville Danish Park drinking water betterment assessment. This is a one-time payoff. This needs a signature of the entire board, as does the MS 232. And then you have an event permit for the fall for Manchester Marathon Association, 14th Annual Manchester City Marathon on November 8th from 8:50 to 4 PM. Part of the course is on the rail trail.
Thank you,
I'll
Derek.
make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, the motion is made by Kelly and seconded by
Peter.
Peter. Thank you, Kelly and Peter. So the motion is to approve it as presented. Need a roll call vote, and I vote yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
and Chet.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0-0. Next,
And I guess my question for the board at this time is, what is your preference on that? I can scan that this evening and put on electronic signatures for everybody and send it out as we have been. Is that the most convenient method for those items?
my preference is to use electronic signatures as much as we can, especially during these times. I realize some documents have to have wet signatures, but the more we can take advantage of electronic signatures, I mean, that's the technology we use nowadays. It's fairly secure. But I'd entertain comments or questions or concerns from other board members.
I'm in favor of using the electronic signatures, Collis.
Okay. Anybody who has a problem with that, why don't we just simplify things since.
The only thing is on the bills, I think we still need to review the bills. And it would be very
Yeah.
difficult to do that electronically. 'cause there's
No, I agree. Like I say, there are some things that are still going to need wet signatures. That's certainly one of them.
We will continue to put the AP warrant in the selectmen's meeting room for board members to review at their convenience.
Excellent.
At the next page, you have assessor's recommendations. You have, the town assessor recommends an application for prorated assessment for damaged buildings. This is on map 9, lot 26-40.
Can you
Motion
just
to
explain?
approve the assessor's assessment damage for the buildings. That was on the house that burnt down, right?
Yeah, I was just going to ask for some specifics.
Yes,
Yeah, it
so,
was-
yeah,
Property that
Yes,
burnt
this-
down.
I'll second.
That's a motion by Peter, I believe, and a second by Kelly. Do I have that correct? Okay, I'll take a roll call. I vote yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
and Chet.
Yes.
Motion carries 500. Thank you. Okay, then we have,
At tab 6D, you have a budget transfer request, and I'll let the finance director speak directly to this.
hey, Danielle, you're on.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
This is the memo for our quarterly transfer that reimburses the wage lines associated with expenses from paying out, in accordance with the town's policy, those folks who choose not to take the group health insurance and elect the cash out that's applicable to their group. So we're just looking to reimburse $41,145.96 from the insurance benefit lines to the various wage lines, including FICA, Medicare, and retirement as usual.
Any questions or discussion from the board before I entertain a motion? I'll entertain a motion then.
We'll make a motion to approve the budget transfer request for the reallocation of $41,145.96 from insurance benefits to the various wage lines as presented.
Thank you, Chet.
I'll
Motion by
second.
I'll second.
And a second by Kelly. Any further discussion on the motion? Take a roll call. I vote yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
and Chet.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously 500.
Thank you. At tab 6E, you have recommendations from the trustees of the trust funds to appoint 2 volunteers. One, this was done at the February 18th meeting. The first is to reappoint Brian Labardi as an alternate member for a term running for 1 year from 2020 to 2021. The second is to appoint Scott Gross as an alternate member for, again, a 1-year term from 2020 through 2021.
Derek, do those need to be done individually or can you do them both together?
You can do those both together if that's your preference.
Yeah, let's take them both.
I'll make the recommendation and we reappoint Brian Lombardi to alternate member, term 2021, and appoint Scott Gross as an alternate member, slot to term 2021 also.
Thank you, Peter.
Second.
I'll second.
I heard second by Mark. So we have a motion by Peter and a second by Mark. Any discussion on the motion? I vote yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
and Chet.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously 500.
And
Next,
the final item I have in tonight's administrative report is at tab 6F. In January, at the end of January, the select board approved an RFP to go out for municipal legal services. That was posted on the town website, town hall bulletin boards. It was also advertised in the New Hampshire Union Leader and New Hampshire Municipal Association website. And we did receive one qualifying bid. We only received one. It was from Drummond Woodsum out of Manchester, New Hampshire law firm. So I guess my question for the board is, what is your preference to do since we only received one bid? I will say that it is from what we've seen from other municipalities, They are very active in municipal law, land use, employment law, as well as finance. And they have made an offer that if the board would like or has any questions, they would be willing to meet with, if you wanted to put a team together to review their bid before putting it back out. But I did want to see what the board's preference with this matter was.
So I've reviewed it, and I've also heard from folks that they're a very strong law firm, well qualified. We've touched on this issue a couple of times before, and I think it's pretty important for us to get a law firm on board. So my preference would be to move forward, but I'd like to hear from other members of the board.
Collis?
I agree with that.
Collis,
I agree with that as well.
But wait a minute, Chet and then Peter.
I just said I agree with that.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
I think we need to make a change because this firm covers everything. One firm could do the whole deal, and I would like to make the recommendation that we go with Drummond Woodsum out of Manchester, New Hampshire, as our town attorney.
Okay, that's a motion, Peter, on your part?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
And Chet, a second from Chet. Okay, is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, I'll take a roll call. I vote yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
And Chet. Sorry, Chet.
It's okay. Yes.
Okay, so the motion carries 5-0-0. What's the next step? Eric, you're gonna-
I've already been in contact with the partner that submitted the bid and had some back and forth, so I will contact him this week and see what we can do to start working with them and also work with our existing council on any open matters and how we'll make that transition.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Next on the agenda is a select board discussion. First is old business. Let's go to tab 7B. This is relative to annual goals. Select board each year develops some annual goals. We've done it in the past using a format that's been used for many years. Derek is proposing a change in the format and the way that we develop the goals, and there's some information, or at least a table, and the timetable and a table for different tasks to address these goals as we bring them forward. Have you folks had a chance to look at it? What are your feelings on this?
I picked it up
Mr. Chair?
today. I went through it. It doesn't look bad. I mean, it looks like we need something different that we can hold ourselves to versus the way it used to be.
Kelly, did I hear you? Did you want to say something, Kelly?
Yes, please. I like this format. It's closer to the SMART goals objective format. But one thing that I did want to note was that I would like for us, should we move forward with any sort of format, to come up with a review process or a check-in process, whatever the frequency might be, or who's responsible amongst the boards or departments for checking in on those things, making it regular if we can, or some sort of consistent check-in process for as we go through these.
Yeah, so I'll just make a couple observations. I like it. I think it keeps us on tracks. Sometimes in the past, we've adopted goals, but they seem to slip by the wayside. And I think that speaks to your second point, Kelly, with these regular check-ins to make sure that we're proceeding towards some deliverables at the end of these things so that we know where we're going and we know when we get to the end point. So I think that's a good suggestion. I think the form is good. I mean, we'll work with it. We may need to modify it, but that's fine. But I think it's a step in the right direction. How about other board members?
Collis, I've
Yes.
looked at it and reviewed it. I kind of think it'll be a step in the right direction for us. And like Kelly and you have both said, it'll keep us online, keep us in track or on track with what we have to do throughout the year. I like it. I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Chet, how about you?
Yep. I feel the same way.
Peter?
Yeah, like I said, it gives us something to shoot at.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit more direction than we've been used before. You need a motion, or what do you want to do?
Well, you need to give Derek some direction. So it looked like, Derek, you had contacted at least some, if not all of the department heads to find out, what they had in mind?
Yes. So on Friday, when I sent the format out to the select board members, I also sent it to department heads to let them know that I was proposing a little bit change in format, but also to get a little bit of their feedback on any goals that they might see or upcoming items. And I gathered those and sent those out to board members and blind copied all the board members as well as the department heads this morning on that. So that went out, and I guess the goal was to kind of break this into manageable chunks. So my idea was this evening to maybe set anywhere between 4 and 6 or whatever the board wants, but some overarching goals, and then break those down even further into objectives. And then at your next meeting would be finalize those and then start getting in key steps as well as measurables and timelines for those. And then by beginning of May, you'd finish up, and then you'd have those. As Chair Boyer pointed out, you could also talk about a check-in process, how regularly and who each item is going to be assigned to.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Peter.
Eric, I have a question. What do we have coming up for negotiations? I know that was one of the things that was put on the department head. That's really a duty. I mean, the goal
So
is.
in 2020, you will have 2 CBAs that are coming up for renegotiation. That is the patrolmen's union at police and the dispatch union as well. Those are the 2 that expire on December 31st of this year.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw those over the weekend. Now I can't put my finger on where you broke out some of those details.
Hollis, I think that was in the email. I don't see those.
Yeah, I don't
goals
either.
on here.
Yeah.
If you'd like, Mr. Chairman, I can kind of read off what I had sent out earlier today.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, the ones that came primarily from the department heads were, and let me see if I can share my screen.
I got it right here, Derek, if you want me to read it.
Well, okay, I can, thank you, Selectman Georgianis. I'll go through. There were 3 goals that the department heads really proposed. They were human resources, fiscal, I guess it'd be fiscal oversight by the select board, and then project management. Those were further versus was look at pay scales, benefits, 24/7. As many of you are aware, the fire department is to be about halfway through right now with their actually they're four months into their 6-month pilot project with the 24/7 coverage. We have many reviews and updates to the personnel plan that were started over the winter and that are outstanding, and then also to develop and implement an annual department head evaluation process. So those are the recommendations department heads.
As the HR rep, I'm happy to take these on and work with Derek and Danielle, or whichever capacity we decide to move forward in them. A few of these things I'm already on currently, so I'll work however we deem necessary.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that offer. Derek can work directly with you as they move forward, okay?
Sure.
The next item, again, the overarching goal would be fiscal oversight by the select board, and there were 4 objectives that were kind of proposed. One would be monitoring the 2020 budget in relation to the COVID-19 outbreak. Also related to that would be the 2020 budget to track expenses and revenues, but also start talking about the 2020 tax rate and what the board feels is an appropriate tax rate, as well as an appropriate use of fund balance at tax rate setting time. Tied in with that would be a review of the town or the select board's unassigned fund balance policy and what are appropriate goals. Now that we are kind of in one of those emergencies that you have unassigned fund balance is there for. And then the final item that the department would find helpful as we get prepared to, over the summer, prepare a 2021 budget would be what the select board, what your budget expectations and any and guidance would be for department heads as we go through developing that.
Okay, thank you.
And then the final overarching goal that the department heads proposed were project management. One would be CIP. Historically, CIP has been a 6-year timeline, and many times you get large capital expenses, capital items that show up, and although it's in an out year, it might only be 4 years away. Does the board want to start looking at what some of the departments have for out year planning? And then I also had the road plan and approach to road improvements, and then also the police station renovation plans, what the board wants to do there. Again, some ideas for the board to think about.
Yep, that's good. Those are some good specific issues. Anybody else have comments on this? I do have one. What I've thought about often over the years, and what I would like to see is establishing an ad hoc committee to look at rebridging the Piscataquag River in the village to bring about more cohesiveness to a community. I think that's something that I would like to see move forward, and I'd like to see that become a priority of our board.
You mean by that rebridging, you mean replacing the bridge?
Yeah.
The whole.
Well, putting in a
downtown,
bridge.
more or less,
Yep.
that whole.
Yeah, well, yeah, where the existing abutments are, Rotary Park and the one on the other side of the river.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of pieces of lead going to. We'll have to have a structural analysis done of the abutments and whatnot. But I'd like to establish an ad hoc committee to get that ball rolling. You know, we're going to have to look at funding opportunities, like to see it funded primarily by private donations and whatnot, not put this on the backs of the taxpayers. But I think it could be a tremendous asset to the village and the town in general.
Derek, I have a couple questions if I could just chime in. Call us, you would know too. Probably Chet and Kelly, because they've been on CIP. Now, when you mentioned CIP, Derek, are we talking about putting something together, what we recommend in future years before it goes to the CIP committee?
No, I guess my question would be, does the select board want to provide, CIP is a subcommittee of the planning board. So it does live in their realm, but eventually it does come back to you in the budget committee in the form of a budget request. Many of the departments do maintain, whether it's mostly vehicles, but they do maintain capital matrix that go out beyond 6 years. So I guess, does the board want to have any discussions with planning board and CIP about what the appropriate out years are, or to get into any of those ideas of what those beyond 6 years? Because again, many times a brand new project will show up on the matrix and can kind of blow up. I know Vice Chair Boyer and Selectman Bowen in the last couple of years has seen the spikes in out years when you throw in a pool replacement or another big project. So any of those departments that might have big projects out in the horizon, they might be 7 or 8 years out, which just falls right outside of the matrix. But when it does come in, it can kind of blow the whole thing up.
Yeah, I think
Mr.
that's
Chair,
good.
can I ask?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you. Thanks. Do the department heads have updated CIP matrices as of yet, Derek? Are they working on those currently?
We don't have a CIP schedule set yet. Normally we start, and department heads will start and they will finish at the end of April so that the CIP committee can start at the end of May. That's a little bit in limbo right now. But it may be a good start to look at what the town has for assets and see what the age and condition of some of those assets are. So the board and department heads can start to get an idea of what we have out there and what the life of those is.
Yeah, I know we did a list like that in the past, but on a smaller scale. And I also wonder if it would be helpful to look at the what was presented versus what was actually put through on CIP, just to kind of highlight. So, Danielle, you've done a great job keeping up with those. So maybe we could take a look at that before making any decisions, just to kind of look at what really happened over the past few years.
Yep, I think that's a good idea. And you talk about the police department, but we've talked in the past about looking at all our municipal buildings and our big construction projects. The library is another example. And there's other examples. I think moving the CIP framework out additional years makes sense because those are big projects that are going to take a long time to bring to fruition through the planning process and the CIP process and everything else that goes into it. So, I feel comfortable doing that. Others?
Carlos, I have a question.
Sure.
So if I understand it right, because not normally the department heads just put their CIP together and they submit it to the CIP committee. So are we recommending that we look at it before they send it to the CIP committee?
I don't know. What thoughts from others? I mean, I think we ought to at least, be engaged up front as early as we can.
No, but we don't normally see it until they've already
Right.
submitted it.
Right.
So, and then it comes to us at the end, and then we decide, well, we're going to move this. Would it be advantageous for us to see it before it goes to the CIP committee to get at least some input into it?
I think so personally, but I want to hear from others.
I think it would be helpful because, in being on that committee last year, it would be nice to know where we all stand prior to, and it gives me some direction in that meeting when we're discussing what we're going to do, especially when we see some of those big projects, that they turn to the select board rep in that meeting quite often to find out, what will you guys say is okay and what won't you? So I think it makes a lot of sense for us to provide some direction beforehand.
Yep, good.
Okay, so can we put that on the schedule for early next month, that the department heads bring their CIP wishes to us first?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Pete. I think, Derek, if you can give some direction to the department heads on what we're thinking and where we're trending towards to get some feedback from them.
Okay, yes, I can pass that along, and maybe at the next meeting, I can do a little bit of a breakdown. I don't remember which member said it, but a little bit of the history of CIP of been proposed by department heads, what's been pushed out, and then what happens when it gets to through the budget into town meeting.
Good. Okay, that's a good start.
Mr. Chair, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Maybe I might be misunderstanding, but are we finalizing what our overarching goal is going to be tonight? Is that what we're asking for here?
Well, I think the intent was for Derek to bring this framework and this concept forward.
Sure.
So we can at least have initial conversations tonight. I think it's going to take a lot more teasing out before we can get to it. But I think this was the good start to find out what Derek's thoughts were, and if we're on board with it, then we can schedule for future meetings to provide more detail and tease it out a bit more. Derek, does that sound about right?
Yes, again, I don't want to have this languish too long as we get into summer. So, my tonight was to get some overarching goals of, what are your 5 or 6 most important things? Are they human resources, communication, fiscal projects, economic development? Again, absolutely can move some of those overarching and kind of, if people want to give me feedback between now and the next meeting on an individual basis, or we can do it that way to bring kind of a proposal for the overarching goals, and then to break those further down into some objectives, and that way again, the whole idea is to, before you get to Memorial Day, to have these adopted. So really, before we get into budget development, that's the time when departments have time to really kind of start picking away at it before we're developing our budget for 2021 and in that. So.
Yes, I agree. This should sit in language. So let's put this on the agenda for the next meeting. Maybe we'll have a little bit more detail then to share, because I agree. We don't want it to languish. We've got to move this forward and get these things in place so that we can take definitive steps to move towards some endpoint.
Can I make a suggestion, Collis, that
Sure.
you do like you did with, like we've done with appointing departments? Maybe somebody we could all send in with that list that Derek sent out and say, okay, we'd be interested in participating with this, or maybe that would help the situation out a little bit.
So Peter, you're talking about the table he sent out?
Yeah. So I don't know if you have it in front of you, but
I do.
you know, okay. And there's a whole list of stuff there. I mean,
Yep.
if we all tried to handle everything, it'd be kind of difficult. So some things on there that you don't need the whole committee to work on.
Right. In fact, if you go look at the 2016 goals, which is part of the packet, I mean, they're not bad. I mean, there's certainly the framework there to work from. So we don't have to go all the way back and reinvent the wheel here. I mean, we can certainly work from that and then provide some more detail and more direction to the department heads and to Derek. Does that sound about right, at least for first steps?
Yeah, I think that's good for first steps, and using that, I can send out again a draft framework based on the conversation tonight, some of the stuff that was in the packet, and then if you can, I'd say feel free to contact me individually, or maybe even talk to some of the other department heads about some of those items, and we can have something a little bit worked out at the meeting on the 27th of April.
Okay. I'm gonna look at the agenda. I see we skipped over in our old business committee reports. What was the intent there, Derek? I mean, I don't know that.
Well, I had asked Selectman Georgianis to report out on planning board.
We had planning board that was been pretty busy. We've got some really good projects we're working on. I'll go through, give you an update on some of them. The first one would be the well, it was actually a lot merger for the solar array, which is going to be up off of Shirley Hill Road, up behind Hebert's.
What's that? Is that the one's called Gentle Slopes, or?
That's Gentle Slopes, right? And that's that is a solar array proposed up there. And a lot of discussion now is a lot of the minor stuff like the road getting in there and who's responsible for the maintenance. So that was approved. Gentle Slopes was approved with, I believe it was 11 different conditions. So that was a big project that's been lingering since last fall. So that one was done. And then our second one that was a fairly good one is the Mass Road Crossing. Mass Road Crossing is the 42-unit condo. The villa. And we got on that. We got a lot of stuff accomplished on that, a lot more information, and that is continued until.
Yeah, that's not the project that's proposing 4 new driveway entrances onto that busy stretch of Mass Road right there, right?
Well, no, it's not 4 anymore. They've actually, one's been, the one at Norman Road has been done, so it's not 4 any there.
Oh, okay.
Norman Road, when the state didn't like that one. I don't know how busy that intersection is. I mean, you got entrances there now. And then, like I said, that was continued to the May 14th meeting. And then we had the school district came in with a brief presentation on the Glen Lake School Addition project, which is map 5 lot 14-1. Again, that was just a quick overview, and they're going to make a full presentation at the 23rd meeting.
Good.
If there's any questions I can answer, I'll be more than happy to.
Those are some pretty significant projects on their plate.
Yes, a lot of conversation on the 42 unit is the age restriction.
Yeah,
55 versus 62, and they're also looking for some waivers from the impact fees on school.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of discussion on that. So it's still a work in progress. We're still working with them. Again, that's been continued to the May 14th.
okay, thank you. Any questions for Peter? Thank you, Peter.
Welcome.
Are there other committee reports that you want to bring before the board? Things are pretty quiet at the Conservation Commission. I can report that. Just a couple of items we're dealing with, but nothing significant. Any other committee reports to bring forward? No? All right. Thank you. Where are we? The action matrix. Let's see. Where did the action matrix go?
Wallace Road Roundabout. Where are we at on that thing? Collis, you and I talked about that for how many years now?
Yeah, so we're at tab 7C right now is the action matrix. And the first one is the Wallace Road Roundabout. So there was supposed to be something coming back from VHB.
Yes, I can give an update on that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
On 2 weeks ago, DPW Director Jacobs and I met with VHB over the computer. Their plans were right at the end, and we asked for a few minor changes and some traffic information to be updated. We've provided them with traffic studies submitted to the town in relation to recent planning board applications. I anticipate that we would be getting the final recommendation and the final memo and all the revised construction estimates for both short-term and long-term solutions here over the next week, I'm hoping. And I'm hoping that we can have them present to you on the meeting on the 27th of April. On what
April 27th?
that's my hope. I'll have to reach out to the engineer that was working on that. They were getting, again, this was done with NHDOT planning funds, not town funds. So they were getting near the end of their hours that were allowed under those NHDOT funds. But Adam and I spoke with them 2 weeks ago. Things were looking very good on their recommendations, and we just asked for a few modifications before bringing it to the board. So I will check in with them. If available, I'd like to have them present on the 27th.
Good, 2 weeks. Okay, great. Changes of the personnel plan?
Yeah, we've changed quite a few temporary policies in response to COVID. This has kind of been put on the back burners, but we will be bringing forward in the coming weeks a conditional offer of employment templates, as well as some of the sign-offs, and then we'll start getting into what you'd like to see for a department head annual review process. And we do have infotech policies drafted up. Again, we're trying to make sure we don't have anything that conflicts with department SOGs or SOPs that were previously designed. So those will be coming in the future weeks.
Okay, thank you for the update. The communication strategy?
Again, I think
you just touched on that, actually.
I touched on that, but I think this might be something also, if it's the board's goals as you move forward in 2020, you can see whether you want to assign a select board to that or to departments, and we can start. I think our communication strategy has shifted over the last 3.5, 4 weeks to keep the public involved. So we're learning quite a bit right now, and then we can implement those into written strategies and policies.
Yep, good. That's an understatement, Derek. It's going to be a lot of coordination that's going to have to occur there for sure.
I have a quick question, Collis.
Sure, Peter.
I was wondering where we stand on the master plan update.
I spoke with Joanne about the master plan today. Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission is putting the final touches on the draft chapters. He was supposed to get close to us last week, but something, I believe he got ill and wasn't able to send those. So she reached out to Southern New Hampshire Planning today in hopes that we can get those this week. It does look like those are coming. They shared, they're going to be throwing some items on Dropbox for Joanne and myself to review, and then we'll be bringing those to the board at a future meeting. So the final drafts of, or not the final drafts, but the first drafts that the planning board will review are nearing completion. So that'll be going back to the planning board in the coming coming probably within the next, maybe not the April 23rd meeting, but that first meeting in May.
Okay, so we're continuing to communicate with them so this doesn't languish and we can keep moving it forward.
Yes.
Great. And then we're moving down to grants, the fire department applications. This is the AFG, Assistant to Firefighters Grant Program.
Yeah, I think at the last meeting, the fire chief had advised the board that he did submit the AFG grant. There were two other grants that were he was allowed to. Maybe the fire chief can give the board an update on where those applications are at.
Chief, you still with us?
Yep, I'm here. So you're right, Mr. Chairman. We did submit for the AFG grant. The other two grants have been on hold in light of the COVID situation that we've kind of been, all of our efforts have been put towards that. As we start hopefully winding down, we'll get those applications out. There was no deadline on either one of those.
Yeah, as I recall, you brought that forward to us and we said to go ahead and proceed with submitting the grant applications and we'll see how it comes out. Great, thank you. Let's see. The Homeland Security and the Emergency Management Warm Zone EMS grant.
Yes, those that and the firehouse subs grants were the two that the fire chief was just referring to.
Okay, so that
They don't have deadlines, but they've kind of, with everything going on, they've been kind of pushed back. And as things, the fire department will handle those as time allows.
okay, great. And now we're talking down to vehicles and equipment. Police Department car 14, DPW is going to fix the transmission, the power transfer unit. Is that correct, Adam?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm told the part's been ordered and should be in on Thursday.
Great, thank you. And how about the six-wheel dump?
That's a sort of a late breaker, so we've got to get that up to Donovan to get the spring set repaired.
Okay. So we head on the action matrix. So that brings us to what? So that completes the agenda as I see it.
You get the last.
I'm going to ask one more time. Is there any public comment? Is there anybody on the line, Derek, that would like to provide public comment?
No, I'm not seeing anyone on the line.
Okay, so we'll move by that.
I'd like to
All
make
right.
a motion that we go into non-public on RSA 91-A:3, 2A compensation.
Thank you, Peter, for the motion, and a second from,
I'll second that, Carlos.
seconded by Mark. I have to take a roll call. I vote yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Peter? Peter? Since you made the motion, Peter, I'm assuming you're yes. Mark
Yes, sir.
and Chet?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion to go into non-public carries 500. So I want to thank everybody who's watched and participated in the meeting to this point. We're going to go into non-public. So we'll be signing off. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and support one another through these difficult times. Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a good evening.
Derek, you'll